First contact and miscalculation. The Zarthak fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, their sleek, obsidian ships reflecting the distant sun's light. Admiral Krelnox stood on the bridge of the flagship, his four eyes fixed on the holographic display of the third planet from the star. Scans complete. Admiral, reported his second-in-command, Vexlor. The planet appears to be teeming with life, but we detect no orbital defenses, no energy shields, and only primitive spacefaring capabilities. Krelnox's mandibles clicked in amusement. It seems the intelligence reports were correct. These humans are as defenseless as we thought. Prepare the invasion force. We'll have this world under our control within a standard rotation. As the Zarthak fleet approached Earth, they remained unaware that their arrival had not gone unnoticed. Deep within a mountain in Colorado, in a facility unknown to most of humanity, alarms blared. Dr. Elena Rodriguez rushed into the control room of Project Sentinel, her heart racing. "What do we have?" she demanded, looking at the sea of screens and holographic displays. Colonel Jack Harper, a grizzled veteran with more battle scars than most would earn in 10 lifetimes, pointed to the main screen. "First contact, Doc, and they don't look friendly." Elena's eyes widened as she took in the information scrolling across the displays. "How many?" "We count over 1,000 ships, ranging from what appear to be fighters to massive capital ships. They're in a standard invasion formation." Elena took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Activate the Sentinel protocol. It's time to see if our preparations were enough." As Harper began issuing orders, Elena couldn't help but think back to the day, 15 years ago, when a lone alien scout ship had crash-landed in the New Mexico desert. The recovery of that ship and its advanced technology had changed everything. World leaders, setting aside their differences for once, had agreed to keep the discovery secret while pouring resources into reverse engineering the alien tech and preparing for the day they knew would eventually come. Now, that day had arrived. In orbit, Admiral Krelnox watched with satisfaction as his fleet took up positions around the planet. "Begin the first wave," he ordered. "Target their primitive communication satellites and any military installations we can identify." Hundreds of Zarthak fighters streaked towards Earth's atmosphere, their weapons primed. But as they entered the mesosphere, something unexpected happened. Their systems began to flicker and fail. "Admiral," Vexlor called out, panic evident in his voice. "We're losing contact with the first wave." Krelnox's confidence wavered for the first time. "What do you mean, losing contact?" "Explain." "Their systems are shutting down, sir. It's as if the planet itself is defending against our attack." On the surface, Elena and her team watched as the Sentinel system did its work. Years of research into the alien scout ship's technology had led to the development of a planetary-scale electromagnetic pulse system, carefully tuned to target the specific frequencies used by the alien tech. "It's working," Elena breathed, hardly daring to believe it. "The EMP net is taking them down." Harper nodded grimly. "Phase 1 is a success, but this is just the beginning. They'll adapt, and we need to be ready for their next move." In space, Admiral Krelnox raged as reports flooded in of disabled ships and lost squadrons. "Impossible," he roared. "How can these primitives have such advanced defenses?" "We detected nothing." Vexlor, struggling to make sense of the data, offered a tentative explanation. "Sir, it appears they have some kind of energy field enveloping their planet. It's unlike anything we've encountered before." Krelnox's anger gave way to a grudging respect. "Clever," he muttered. "They hid their true capabilities, luring us into a trap. But this changes nothing. We are the Zarthak. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. This Earth will be no different." He turned to his command staff, his voice rising with determination. "Recalibrate our shields. Find a way through their defenses. We will not be defeated by these humans." As the Zarthak fleet regrouped and began probing Earth's defenses, looking for weaknesses, Elena and her team knew that the real battle was just beginning. They had surprised the aliens, but now the true test of humanity's preparations would begin. "Colonel," Elena said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation, "initiate Phase 2. It's time to show these invaders what humanity is really capable of." Harper nodded, a grim smile on his face. "With pleasure, Doc. Let's give these alien bastards a proper Earth welcome." As orders went out across the globe, activating sleeper cells and hidden defense networks, the people of Earth remained largely unaware of the battle raging above them. But in secret facilities and hidden bunkers, the best minds and bravest souls of humanity prepared to fight for their world's survival. The Zarthak had come expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they were about to learn why it was a terrible mistake to underestimate the ingenuity, resilience, and determination of the human race. The invisible defense. As the Zarthak fleet regrouped in Earth's orbit, Admiral Krelnox paced the bridge of his flagship, his forearms clasped behind his back in a gesture of frustrated contemplation. The initial assault had been a disaster, with hundreds of fighters lost to the planet's mysterious defense system. "Status report," he barked, turning to face his command staff. Vexlor, still shaken by their initial failure, stepped forward. "Admiral, we've managed to recalibrate our shields to resist the energy pulses that disabled our first wave. However, we're still unable to penetrate the planet's defenses or establish any form of communication with our ground forces." Krelnock's eyes narrowed. "And what of our long-range scans? Surely we can identify the source of their defensive capabilities." That's the problem, sir," Vexlor replied hesitantly. "We can't detect any significant energy signatures or visible defense installations. It's as if the entire planet is shielded by something we can't see or understand." The Admiral's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Impossible. No civilization can hide an entire planetary defense system. Prepare a second wave. This time, we'll overwhelm them with sheer numbers." As the Zarthak prepared their next assault, activity on Earth reached a fever pitch. In the Project Sentinel facility, Dr. Elena Rodriguez and Colonel Jack Harper coordinated a global response that had been years in the making. "Status on the nanite swarms?" Elena asked, her fingers flying across a holographic interface. Harper consulted his own display. "Deployment at 85% and climbing. We'll have full coverage within the hour." Elena nodded, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. The nanite swarms were perhaps their most audacious defense. Microscopic robots, released into the atmosphere, capable of interfacing with and disrupting alien technology. It was a gamble, but one they hoped would pay off. "What about Project Mirage?" she inquired, referring to another key component of Earth's hidden defenses. "Online and functioning perfectly," Harper replied with a grim smile. "Those alien bastards won't know what hit them." Project Mirage was a network of advanced holographic projectors and sensor scramblers designed to make Earth appear far less developed than it actually was. Combined with the EMP net and the nanite swarms, it formed a three-pronged defense that the Zarthak were struggling to comprehend. In orbit, Admiral Krelnox watched as his second wave of fighters descended towards Earth. This time, they were prepared for the energy pulses that had disabled the first wave. But as they entered the atmosphere, something even stranger occurred. "Admiral," Vexlor cried out, "we're losing telemetry from the second wave." Krelnox whirled around. "Explain." It's as if they're flying blind, sir. Their sensors are reporting contradictory information. Some are showing dense urban centers where our initial scans showed nothing. Others are losing altitude control for no apparent reason. On the surface, Elena and Harper watched as the Sentinel system coordinated its multi-layered defense. The nanite swarms infiltrated the alien ship systems, feeding them false data and subtly altering their flight paths. Meanwhile, Project Mirage projected phantom cities and military installations, confusing the invaders' targeting systems. "It's working," Elena breathed, hardly daring to believe it. "They're scattered, disoriented." Harper nodded, his expression a mixture of relief and determination. "Now for the counterpunch. Activate the Titan units." Across the globe, in hidden underground hangars, massive humanoid machines, the product of reverse-engineered alien technology combined with human ingenuity, powered up. The Titans, piloted by the best and brightest of Earth's military forces, were humanity's answer to the Zarthak's technological superiority. As the alien fighters struggled to make sense of their surroundings, the first Titans emerged from their hiding places. To the Zarthak, they seemed to appear out of nowhere, a result of Project Mirage's sensor-scrambling capabilities. Admiral Krell watched in disbelief as his view screens showed impossible scenes, massive humanoid machines engaging his fighters with weaponry that seemed to rival their own. "What in the name of the eternal void is happening down there?" he roared. Vexlor, his composure finally cracking, could only shake his head. I don't know, sir. It's as if the planet itself is fighting back." On the ground, the battle raged. Titan units engaged Zarthak fighters in spectacular aerial combat, while others defended key locations from the few alien ships that managed to land. The invaders, expecting to find a primitive and defenseless world, instead found themselves outmatched and outmaneuvered at every turn. In the Project Sentinel control room, Elena and Harper coordinated the global defense effort. Reports flooded in from around the world. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, all telling the same story. The aliens were being pushed back. "We've got them on the run," Harper said, a note of triumph in his voice. "But this is just the beginning. They'll regroup, try to figure out what went wrong. We need to press our advantage." Elena nodded, her mind already racing ahead to the next phase of their plan. "Agreed. It's time to take the fight to them. Prepare the Icarus Protocol." Harper's eyes widened. "Are you sure? That's a hell of a risk." "It's a risk we have to take," Elena replied firmly. "We've surprised them once. We need to keep them off balance, show them that humanity is not to be underestimated." As orders went out to initiate the Icarus Protocol, Admiral Krell struggled to comprehend the magnitude of his failure. The second wave, like the first, had been decimated. But more than that, everything they thought they knew about Earth and its defenders had been proven wrong. "How?" he muttered, more to himself than to his command staff. "How could we have been so wrong?" Vexlor, having regained some of his composure, ventured an answer. "Sir, I believe we may have gravely underestimated the humans' technological capabilities. Their defenses, they're unlike anything we've encountered before." Krellnox's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "It's as if they've developed technologies specifically designed to counter our own," Vexlor continued. "The energy pulses that disabled our first wave, the sensor scrambling effects that confused our second. It's almost as if they knew we were coming." The Admiral's mind raced, considering the implications. Could it be possible? Had the humans somehow anticipated their arrival? But how? As Krellnox grappled with these questions, he was unaware that humanity's next move was already underway. The Icarus Protocol, a daring plan to take the fight directly to the Zarthak fleet, was about to change the course of the battle, and perhaps the fate of both species. Alien confusion and human ingenuity. Admiral Krellnox stood before the holographic display on the bridge of his flagship, his four eyes narrowed in concentration as he studied the baffling data before him. The planet Earth, which had seemed so defenseless mere hours ago, had transformed into an impenetrable fortress that defied all logic and expectation. "It doesn't make sense," he muttered, more to himself than to his anxious crew. "How could they have developed such advanced technology without our knowledge?" Vexlor, the Admiral's second-in-command, cleared his throat nervously. "Sir, we've compiled a preliminary analysis of the human defenses. It appears they're using a combination of technologies, some of which seem familiar." Krellnox's head snapped up. "Familiar? Explain." "Some of the energy signatures we're detecting bear a striking resemblance to our own technology, sir. It's as if they've taken our designs and improved upon them." The Admiral's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Impossible. Unless His voice trailed off as a disturbing thought took root in his mind. The scout ship, the one we lost in this sector 50 of their years ago. Could they have? Before Vexilor could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. "Admiral," a sensor operator called out, "we're detecting multiple launches from the planet's surface." Krelnox whirled to face the main view screen, watching in disbelief as dozens of sleek, arrow-shaped craft rose from Earth's atmosphere. Unlike the clumsy rockets they had expected, these ships moved with a grace and speed that rivaled their own fighters. "Impossible," he breathed. "They shouldn't have this capability." On Earth, in the control room of Project Sentinel, Dr. Elena Rodriguez and Colonel Jack Harper watched with a mixture of pride and apprehension as the Icarus squadrons took flight. "Godspeed," Harper murmured, his usual gruff demeanor softened by the gravity of the moment. Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the Earth ship's ascent. The Icarus protocol was their most audacious gambit yet, a fleet of spacecraft reverse-engineered from the alien tech they had recovered decades ago, enhanced with humanity's own innovations. "Icarus leader to Sentinel Control," a voice crackled over the comms. "We are approaching the alien fleet. Request permission to engage." Elena took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Permission granted, Icarus leader. Show them what humanity is capable of." In space, Admiral Krelnox watched in growing horror as the Earth ships engaged his fleet. Their weapons, a devastating combination of Zarthak energy weapons and human-designed warheads, tore through his ship's defenses with terrifying ease. "How is this possible?" he roared, turning to Vexilor. "They're using our own technology against us." Vexilor, his composure finally cracking, could only shake his head in disbelief. "It's not just our technology, sir. They've improved it, made it more efficient, more powerful. It's as if they've taken our designs and perfected them in ways we never imagined." As the battle raged in orbit, the Zarthak found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned by an enemy they had grossly underestimated. The Icarus ships, piloted by Earth's best and brightest, danced between the alien vessels, their advanced AI systems predicting and countering the Zarthak's every move. Back on Earth, Elena and Harper coordinated the global defense effort, their earlier hope now tinged with cautious optimism. Reports flooded in from around the world: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, all telling the same story. The alien ground forces, cut off from their fleet and confused by Earth's invisible defenses, were being systematically neutralized. "We've got them on the run," Harper said, a note of disbelief in his voice. "But this is just the beginning. They'll regroup, try to figure out what went wrong. We need to press our advantage." Elena nodded, her mind already racing ahead to the next phase of their plan. "Agreed. It's time to show them the full extent of our capabilities. Initiate Project Phoenix." Harper's eyes widened at Elena's command. "Project Phoenix. Are you sure we're ready for that?" Elena nodded grimly. "We may never get another chance like this. It's time to show the Zarthak that humanity is not just capable of defending itself, but that we can strike back in ways they never imagined." As orders went out to activate Project Phoenix, the battle in orbit reached a fever pitch. The Icarus squadrons, despite their advanced technology, were vastly outnumbered by the Zarthak fleet, but what they lacked in numbers, they made up for in ingenuity and unpredictability. Captain Sarah Chen, leader of Icarus Squadron, barrel-rolled her ship to avoid a barrage of alien energy weapons. "Icarus Squadron, form up on me," she commanded. "Prepare to execute Maneuver Omega." Her squadron fell into formation behind her, their ships moving in perfect synchronization. To the Zarthak, it appeared as if the human vessels were about to attempt a suicidal charge at their flagship. Admiral Krelnox watched the approaching formation with a mixture of confusion and contempt. "Prepare all forward batteries," he ordered. "We'll obliterate these humans and be done with it." But as the Zarthak weapons powered up, something unexpected happened. The Icarus ships suddenly split apart, each one seeming to fragment into dozens of smaller craft. In reality, advanced holographic technology, combined with sensor jamming devices, created the illusion of a much larger attack force. Confusion reigned on the Zarthak bridge as their targeting systems struggled to distinguish real threats from phantoms. In the chaos, the real Icarus ships slipped through their defenses, unleashing a barrage of missiles directly at the flagship's vulnerable points. Alarms blared across the Zarthak command ship as systems began to fail. "We've been hit," Vexlor cried out. "Multiple breaches in sectors 7 through 12. Weapons systems offline." Admiral Krelnock stumbled as his ship shuddered under the impact. For the first time since the invasion began, real fear crept into his voice. How can they know our weaknesses so precisely? On Earth, Alina and Harper watched the space battle unfold with a mixture of pride and anxiety. But their attention was soon drawn to another screen, where Project Phoenix was about to make its debut. Deep beneath the surface of the moon, in a base that had been built in secret over the past decade, a massive cannon powered up. It was the culmination of humanity's reverse engineering efforts, a weapon that combined Zarthak energy technology with human innovations in ways its original creators never imagined. "Phoenix Base to Sentinel Control," a voice crackled over the comms. "We are charged and ready, awaiting your command." Elena took a deep breath, the weight of the moment heavy on her shoulders. This weapon had the power to turn the tide of the battle decisively, but it was also a revelation of humanity's true technological capabilities. There would be no going back after this. "Phoenix Base," she said, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. "You have permission to fire." On the moon, targeting systems locked onto the Zarthak flagship. The cannon hummed with power, drawing energy from a miniature fusion reactor buried deep within the lunar rock. Then, with a flash visible from Earth, it fired. A beam of blinding energy lanced out from the moon's surface, crossing the void of space in an instant. It struck the Zarthak flagship with pinpoint accuracy, bypassing its shields as if they weren't even there. On the bridge, Admiral Krelnox watched in horror as systems failed all around him. What was that?" he gasped, turning to Vexlor. But his second-in-command had no answers. The Zarthak, who had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest, found themselves facing an enemy that not only matched their technology, but had surpassed it in ways they couldn't comprehend. As the flagship drifted powerless in space, Admiral Krelnox made a decision that would change the course of the invasion, and perhaps the future of both species. "Prepare a communication to the humans," he ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. "I wish to negotiate." Back on Earth, Alina and Harper exchanged glances as the message came through. The tide had turned, but the real challenge was just beginning. How would humanity handle its victory? And what would this mean for their place in the galaxy? As they prepared to respond to the Zarthak's request for negotiation, both knew that the future of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The tables turned. The mood in the Project Sentinel control room was a mixture of elation and tense anticipation. The Zarthak fleet, once an overwhelming force poised to conquer Earth, now hung in disarray above the planet. Their flagship, crippled by the devastating shot from the lunar cannon, drifted aimlessly in orbit. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the main holographic display, studying the tactical situation with a furrowed brow. Despite their stunning success, she knew that this was a critical moment, one that could shape the future of human-alien relations for generations to come. "What's our next move, Doc?" Colonel Jack Harper asked, his gruff voice tinged with an uncharacteristic note of uncertainty. Elena took a deep breath before responding. "We need to be careful here, Jack. We've won the battle, but how we handle this moment will determine whether we win the peace." As if on cue, a communication officer called out, "Dr. Rodriguez, we're receiving a transmission from the alien flagship. They're requesting to open negotiations." A hush fell over the control room. This was unprecedented. The Zarthak, A species known across the galaxy for their relentless conquests were asking to negotiate. It was a testament to how thoroughly humanity had shattered their expectations. Elena nodded decisively. Put them through. Let's hear what they have to say. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the alien visage of Admiral Chronicles. Despite the unfamiliar physiology, the look of stunned disbelief on his face was unmistakable. "Greetings, defenders of Earth," Chronicles began, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into English. "I am Admiral Chronicles of the Zarthak Empire. In light of recent developments, I propose an immediate cessation of hostilities and the opening of diplomatic channels." Elena stepped forward, her voice steady as she addressed the alien commander. "This is Dr. Elena Rodriguez of Earth's Defense Council. We are open to negotiations, Admiral, but be aware that we negotiate from a position of strength. Your invasion has failed. What assurances can you offer that these negotiations are in good faith?" Chronicles' mandibles clicked in what might have been agitation or resignation. "You have demonstrated capabilities far beyond what we anticipated. It is clear that continuing this conflict would be unwise. We are prepared to withdraw our forces immediately as a show of good faith." As Elena considered her response, Harper leaned in close. "Can we trust them?" he whispered. "This could be a trick." Elena nodded slightly, acknowledging his concern. "Admiral," she said, addressing Chronicles again, "we are willing to discuss terms. However, as a precondition for these talks, we require that your fleet withdraw to a distance of no less than 500,000 kilometers from Earth. Our defense systems will remain active, and any aggressive move will be met with immediate retaliation. Do you accept these terms?" There was a moment of tense silence as Chronicles conferred with his subordinates off-screen. Finally, he turned back to the camera. "We accept your terms, Dr. Rodriguez. Our fleet will begin withdrawal immediately. I'd request permission to send a small diplomatic vessel to your planet to conduct face-to-face negotiations." Elena exchanged glances with Harper before responding. "Permission granted, Admiral. We will transmit coordinates for a neutral meeting site. Your vessel will be escorted by our own ships at all times. Any deviation from the agreed-upon flight path will be considered an act of aggression." As the communication ended, a cheer went up from the control room staff. They had done it. Not only had they repelled the invasion, but they had forced one of the galaxy's most feared conquering races to the negotiating table. But Elena and Harper knew that the real work was just beginning. As the Zarthak fleet began its withdrawal, frantic preparations were underway on Earth. Leaders from around the world were being briefed on the situation, and a delegation was hastily assembled to meet with the alien representatives. In a secure facility outside of Geneva, Elena and Harper joined a group of Earth's top diplomats, scientists, and military leaders. The atmosphere was tense as they prepared for humanity's first official face-to-face meeting with an alien species. "Remember," Elena addressed the group, "we're not just negotiating for ourselves. We're representing all of humanity, past, present, and future. The decisions we make here will shape our species' place in the galaxy for generations to come." As they waited for word of the Zarthak diplomatic vessel's approach, discussions broke out among the human delegation. Some argued for a hard line, pushing for reparations and guarantees of non-aggression. Others advocated for a more conciliatory approach, seeing this as an opportunity to establish peaceful relations with an advanced alien civilization. Elena listened to the debates, her mind racing. She knew that they held a position of strength, but she also understood the potential benefits of turning an enemy into an ally. The question was, could the Zarthak be trusted? And how much should humanity reveal about its true capabilities? As these questions swirled in her mind, a message came through. The Zarthak diplomatic vessel had entered Earth's atmosphere and was on its final approach to the meeting site. The moment of truth had arrived. Humanity was about to take its first steps onto the galactic stage, not as conquered subjects, but as equals, or perhaps even as a rising power to be reckoned with. As Elena and the rest of the delegation made their way to the meeting room, she couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The future of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, was about to be decided. A new understanding. The conference room was a study in contrasts. On one side sat the human delegation, a diverse group representing various nations and fields of expertise. On the other, the Zarthak representatives, their alien physiology a stark reminder of the momentous nature of this meeting. At the center of the human delegation, Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat beside the newly appointed Earth ambassador, a seasoned diplomat named Marcus Chen. Across from them, Admiral Chronicles led the Zarthak delegation, his 4 eyes darting nervously around the room. Ambassador Chen cleared his throat, breaking the tense silence. "Welcome to Earth, Admiral Chronicles. We are prepared to begin negotiations. Perhaps you could start by explaining why your empire chose to launch an unprovoked attack on our planet." Chronicles' mandibles clicked in what might have been embarrassment. "Our actions were based on severely flawed intelligence," he began. "We were led to believe that Earth was a primitive world, ripe for conquest. Clearly, we were mistaken." Elena leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "And yet, even if we had been primitive by your standards, you saw fit to invade us. Why?" The Admiral's alien features contorted in what might have been a grimace. Was the way of our empire. We expand, we conquer. It has been thus for millennia." "And now," Ambassador Chen pressed, "what are your intentions moving forward?" Chronicles seemed to deflate slightly. "Now we find ourselves in an unprecedented situation. Never before has a Zarthak invasion been so thoroughly defeated. Your technology, your tactics, they are beyond anything we have encountered. We come seeking not just peace, but understanding." Elena and Chen exchanged glances. This was an unexpected turn, but it presented an opportunity. "Understanding," Elena repeated. "What exactly do you mean by that, Admiral?" Chronicles' next words sent a ripple of surprise through the human delegation. "We wish to learn from you. Your species has achieved in decades what took us centuries. Your adaptability, your ingenuity, they are qualities the Zarthak have long forgotten in our reliance on brute force and superior technology." For the next several hours, the negotiations took on a tone that none had anticipated. Instead of haggling over reparations or borders, the discussions centered on cultural exchange, technological collaboration, and the possibility of Earth joining a larger galactic community. As the talks progressed, Elena found herself engaged in a fascinating dialogue with one of the Zarthak scientists. They discussed the innovations that had allowed humanity to repel the invasion, the reverse-engineered and improved alien tech, the creative solutions like the nanite swarms, and Project Mirage. "It's remarkable," the Zarthak scientist marveled. "You took our base technology and saw possibilities we never imagined. And your ability to coordinate a global defense, to unite your planet in the face of an external threat, it's unprecedented in our experience." Elena smiled, a mixture of pride and caution in her expression. Humanity has a long history of coming together in times of crisis. And as for the technology, well, we've always been good at thinking outside the box. As the day wore on, the outline of a historic agreement began to take shape. The Zarthak Empire would not only cease all hostilities against Earth, but would also recognize humanity as a sovereign and equal species. In exchange, Earth would share some of its technological innovations and agree to open diplomatic channels with the wider galactic community. But perhaps the most surprising development came near the end of the negotiations. Admiral Chronicles, in a move that shocked even his own delegation, proposed a radical restructuring of the Zarthak Empire. "Our encounter with Earth has shown us the folly of our ways," he announced. "The age of conquest is over. We propose a new era of exploration, collaboration, and mutual growth, and we invite Earth to be our partners in this endeavor." The human delegation was stunned. This was far beyond anything they had hoped for when the negotiations began. As Ambassador Chen and the other diplomats huddled to discuss this unexpected proposal, Alina found herself deep in thought. The events of the past few days had changed everything. Humanity had not only survived its first contact with an alien civilization, but had emerged victorious and was now poised to step onto the galactic stage as a major player. The future that stretched out before them was filled with both incredible opportunities and daunting challenges. As the negotiations drew to a close, with agreements made and historic documents signed, Alina gazed out the window at the sky above. Somewhere up there, the stars awaited. Humanity's long isolation was over. They were part of a larger universe now, for better or worse. The silent siege had ended not with Earth's conquest, but with the dawn of a new era. An era where humanity's ingenuity, adaptability, and determination would be tested on a cosmic scale. As Alina watched the Zarthak delegation prepare to depart, she couldn't help but smile. Whatever the future held, she was certain of one thing: humanity was ready for it. The journey that had begun with a crashed alien scout ship decades ago had led them here, to the threshold of a new chapter in human history. And as the first emissaries of Earth prepared to venture out into the galaxy, Alina knew that the greatest adventures and challenges still lay ahead. The silent siege was over. The age of cosmic humanity had begun.